Well, here I am live, but I don't know if it's my camera that's causing the issue. I don't have access to that feature. Just going to stay live for a few minutes with this camera, and I'm going to see if that's what's causing the problem. So I can just hold things up, I guess, for today. So what was happening is I have an external camera, and it's a neat little camera. In fact, you can see it right there. Okay. But it is, seems to be causing some issues. So we'll see how well I can make things show here. This is not the way I want to do it. And I'm just going to adjust something here that I have my laptop on. See if I can't make this do what I want it to do, because I'm using the built-in camera, which is not ideal. All right, but I am live. So where I was at was my video that I had done prior to the two I tried today, was about the tools that I did. And if you're just joining, I'm an artist. I have aphantasia, which is the inability to conjure up mental images, kind of known as image-free thinking. So I have some videos in the playlist under Art and Aphantasia that you can go back and look at. But I'm doing the tools. In the last video I had done is I had painted the tools, but I had gotten some prints done like this. You can see the color is off. I've since calibrated my monitors, and I'm going to probably resend files and see if I can't get it closer. It's okay, for the purposes I'm doing. And so what I did in the last video is I took the tools. Let me just show you one other painting before I go too far. This one is the hammer. Okay. And I did these paintings without any photo reference or the actual object in front of me. And so the scissors, for example, here is this pair of scissors. Okay. And what, this is what I had in mind when I was doing this. Like I said, I didn't use any photo references, and I didn't have the object in front of me. So I had to rely on what I have observed in the past about this object. And so I think one of the things I kind of concluded was that when I was teaching art, is as I was telling students about, especially in drawing class or in painting, is I would point out things so much in the observation of what they were drawing, like if they were a little bit off on an area, I said, well, do this, compare this, look at how the angle goes this way. And it was all about observation. And really, and I would always say, I'm going to teach you how to see again. And of course, the kids, when I first say that, they're like, what are you talking about? But their observation skills were not keen enough to really notice the fine details or the proportions correctly. And I think because I taught that for 24 years, is I was able to maybe enhance that a little bit more. And somehow I'm able to retain that information. But what I did then in the last video that is no longer, because it failed. And I'm now thinking, because I've been on for almost 5 minutes, is that it's something to do with the camera. So I'm a little bit irritated with that, because that was part of the deal. So anyway, I may have to call the company. So this here, then what I did is I had 2 prints of each. I sent one of the hammer off already to a friend of mine who wanted one. Is I took a white charcoal pencil. I had one here. There we go. And I basically then then I brought the tools out. Okay. This was sort of the hammer I had in mind. Let's see if I can get that to focus in from my hammer. Not very well, but that's okay. But this was the scissors. And so what I started doing was, doing those observations, okay, in how different they really were compared to what I did. And so here is, I'm not going to redraw it today, but here is where I noticed that the blade was much, this is so tough. Anyway, the blade is much shorter, okay? Trying to make it so that it's clear for you guys. Maybe that's not too bad, okay. So the blade was much shorter than I had it originally. I had it way over here. There's a huge space in between on the handle there. And if I can hold it, notice there's like a little knob that sticks out right, oops, going the wrong way, there. And so I had to put that in there. Also, this kind of this rivet here was much wider, than what I had it drawn, and I had it in the wrong spot. And the whole configuration of how the blades, I had it like 2 blades kind of meeting each other. You can kind of see that line there. And what actually is they overlap. And so I didn't account for that. So I didn't recall that, and if I had the object in front of me or was able to pull up an image in my head, I might have been able to, clarify that, not knowing how clear something is for a person who doesn't have aphantasia, or how long they can hold that image there is something I don't know. So I would have to probably talk to another artist. If you are seeing this and watching this video, maybe, and you are an artist and use that capability, it'd be great to let me know, because that would be really helpful in part of what I'm learning, about myself and this process. So that was that one. And then the hammer was, I thought that was, really fun. And again, the color, I'll kind of show this, see if I can show the top half first. The color was, this is the one that was quite off. And again, this isn't the printer's fault. It was my part, calibration. Size-wise, though, it came out beautifully as far as, comparison. But this part here, the very head of the hammer, it actually extends out quite a bit over here, and then the shape, this shape here, should have been up. This should have been a little bit more level, okay, where maybe the top of this was up here. And then, let's see, this was a little bit higher here, and a little bit lower. This kind of should have extended down a little bit further. And then I didn't have, there was kind of these indents here. And then you can see in the white here, there was actually a logo. And then there's kind of a vinyl cover over the handle of this. This is actually black down here. I did not change the color. I just kind of overdrew, with the charcoal pencil the white charcoal pencil to kind of show where things were. So there was a logo on there, and then there was a lot of holes in this kind of vinyl cover there. And so that was pretty much it on that. So my next step, I'll show you. Well, I'm not sure how well I can show you, but my next step is to do the next tool that I plan to do is going to be a handheld drill. And that's what I wanted to start on this today, but I think I got to figure out this whole camera setup because it worked before, so I'm not understanding why it's not working all of a sudden. And so this is an aluminum panel, and I haven't decided, there's a covering on here. You can actually use both sides of it. So what I may do is you can gesso this or you can paint directly on this. And so I think what I'd like to try and do is see what it's like to paint directly on it. There you can kind of see. Just because it's, got this kind of neutral gray, although it's very shiny, just to see what that's like. And so this hand drill, it's a very old-fashioned tool that has kind of a knob at the top, and then you hold it like this and twist it, and then the drill bit, goes in. And so I have one of those. I haven't seen it for a long time, and it's in my basement. So once I start this, and I'll probably go live in a couple of days. In the meantime, I'll show you some of the other things I've been working on. These are the apparitions, and boy, they sure are fuzzy. And this is why I had an external camera, because the camera is great if you're, there, but it doesn't work great for these. But anyway, maybe if I go back and hold it, maybe there we go. Not that I need to be it or want to be in this. So this is one of them, and I like where this is headed. For those who know, abstract art has never been something that I was great at, because it usually turns out muddy and icky. Like one of them I'm going to show you, which I've been trying. I'm struggling a lot with this one. This is probably the 15th version of where it's been, and it's still a little wet. And I know it's not even going to look anything close to this probably when I'm done. I don't know, so even with my skill set, I get really frustrated. This one is really close to being done. And the graffiti moose showed up in this one. And that's what the apparitions are all about, is kind of sitting at the canvas and letting things just happen and appear, and me reacting to the canvas. And so I've done some painting, I think, with this one live, so you can go back on a video. I'm all backwards here, so it's kind of interesting to try and so the graffiti moose actually showed up in a different apparition that I did a while back. And this is, and I'll show that. And I have a glaze on there, so there's a little bit of reflection. Anyway, this is to the level I'd like to get all of those paintings. So I've got a ways to go. I know that. It takes a long time. because sometimes it's just a little tiny dab. So anyway, that's where I am at currently. My next steps will be to maybe send off a new file for these here so I can make sure that my calibration is right and to do the tool. So in a couple of days, I hope to sit down and get that out. I might do two at one time of the same thing, one on gesso, a gesso coated aluminum, and then one without it being coated, just to see if if there's a difference and if I like it better one way or another. All right, with that, I'm going to log out and try and figure out what the heck is going on with the camera. All right, see you later.